The German division of Coca-Cola released a cheerful little advertisement in 2015. Stop-motion bottles danced across the screen to celebrate a birthday. The soda was turning 75, and the ad wanted to bring back, in its own words, the feeling of the good old times. It was meant to be warm and nostalgic. Instead, it detonated. Because when you did the arithmetic, 75 years before 2015 was 1940. And the good old times this drink was born into were the good old times of Nazi Germany. Coca-Cola apologized, but the internet had already found the birth certificate. Today, Fanta is about as innocent as a product can look. Bright orange, aggressively sweet, sold in nearly 200 countries, marketed with cartoonish cheer to teenagers who have never once thought about where it came from. It is the fun one, the harmless one, and it was invented inside Hitler's Germany by an American company out of the leftovers of leftovers, in a country its parent firm had spent years cheerfully wrapping itself around. Fanta was never just a soda, it never was. To understand Fanta, you have to understand how deep Coca-Cola had already dug itself in. By the 1930s, Coca-Cola's German branch, based in the city of Essen, was not merely surviving under the Nazi regime. It was booming. The company advertised alongside Nazi imagery, sponsored the 1936 Berlin Olympics, and at a 1937 industrial exhibition, it built a working bottling plant right on the fairground floor. A company photographer captured the Nazi leader Hermann Goering enjoying a bottle. Coca-Cola, the most American product on earth, had become a fixture of the Third Reich. And it went further than billboards. According to accounts preserved in the definitive history of the company, at a 1938 sales convention, Coca-Cola's German salesmen gathered beneath an enormous portrait of Hitler and a Coca-Cola banner stitched with swastikas, and gave the Nazi salute. This was not a company being victimized by the regime. For years, it was a company doing very well inside it. By 1939, it was selling around 4.5 million cases a year in Germany. And as the Wehrmacht rolled across Europe, Coca-Cola rolled with it. Keith was put in charge of the company's bottling plants in the occupied countries, from Italy to France to Holland, extending the operation on the back of conquest. The men running it were not fanatics, they were something colder. They were loyal to a product, and the product was making a fortune. Then it all broke. On the 7th of December 1941, Japan attacked Pearl Harbor, and the United States entered the war. Overnight, an American company doing business in Germany was trading with the enemy, which was now illegal. The secret syrup that makes Coca-Cola stop crossing the Atlantic. The German branch was cut off from its headquarters in Atlanta, its factories fell quiet, and the Nazi state was circling, threatening to seize the whole operation. The man in charge was a formidable, hot-tempered executive named Max Keith, who had run the German business since 1933 and was utterly devoted to Coca-Cola. He now faced a simple choice: let Coca-Cola in Germany die, or invent something new to keep the machines running and the workers paid. He chose invention. Keith turned his chemists loose on whatever Germany still had, which was not much. What they had, essentially, was garbage. Whey, the watery byproduct left over from making cheese. Apple pomace, the mashed skins and cores left over from pressing cider. Keith later called it the leftovers of leftovers. They sweetened it with beet sugar when they could get it and saccharin when they could not, and out came a cloudy, pale, mildly fruity fizz. To name it, Keith told his team to let their imagination run wild. The German word for imagination is Fantasie. A veteran salesman named Joe Knipp shouted back one word: Fanta. It stuck, and it sold. By 1943, 3 million cases a year. So useful that people poured it into soups and stews, just to get a little sweetness in a country where sugar had almost vanished. Keith even handed the recipe to the Dutch Coca-Cola plant he now oversaw, where they brewed their own version with elderberries. Fanta had become the drink of occupied Europe. If you are enjoying this, hit subscribe. We dig into the hidden histories behind everyday things every week. And if you would rather listen than watch, come join me on Spotify, where you can follow along and never miss an episode. But there is a darker question hanging over those cheerful sales figures. Who was actually making it? By 1944, forced labourers, prisoners and civilians, dragged from conquered countries, made up nearly a fifth of the entire German workforce. Almost no major German factory ran without them. The records for Coca-Cola's German operation are patchy, but the historian who wrote the company's definitive history concluded that it almost certainly used forced labour too. Late in the war, workers brought in from across occupied Europe. Decades later, Coca-Cola quietly paid into the fund, set up to compensate people forced to work in German industry. The cheerful orange soda's ancestor was, in all likelihood, bottled in part by hands that were not free to leave. And yet Max Keith is not a simple villain, which is what makes this story genuinely uncomfortable. After the war, Coca-Cola sent an investigator to examine what he had done, and what they found was tangled. Keith had refused, under heavy pressure, to join the Nazi Party. He had refused to hand senior jobs to Nazi officials. He had manoeuvred to keep the company out of full state control. And when Germany surrendered, Keith did something remarkable. He handed the factories, the operation, and every last bit of the Fanta profits back to Coca-Cola, intact. He had run a soft drink through the Third Reich and stayed loyal, not to Germany, but to a trademark. Even so, the Allied officers who took over German industry at first refused to employ him, one reportedly branding him a second Hitler. Survivor, collaborator and company man all at once, and the label you pick depends on where you choose to stop the story. After the war, Fanta simply stopped. The German branch was reunited with its American parent, and the wartime drink was quietly discontinued. It should have ended there, a grim footnote, but the name still had value. In 1955, in Naples, Italy, Coca-Cola revived Fanta as something completely different, made with local oranges, bright and sweet and sunny. That orange soda is the Fanta of today. The drink born of whey and dictatorship was reborn as citrus and sunshine, and almost nobody noticed the scene where one became the other. Which is exactly why that 2015 advertisement landed so badly. Coca-Cola tried to celebrate the birth of a beloved brand and accidentally toasted the year 1940. The soda had spent 70 years scrubbing itself clean, and one nostalgic slogan tore the label right off. So the next time you see that cheerful orange bottle in a vending machine, remember what it is standing on: a company that saluted beneath swastika banners, a syrup line cut by a world war, the leftovers of leftovers, and a salesman shouting a made-up word, workers who were almost certainly not there by choice, and a man who kept the whole thing alive and then handed the profits back, as though that settled it. The fun one, the harmless one, has the darkest birth certificate in your fridge. Fanta was never just a soda. It never was, and it never will be. If this story surprised you, subscribe for more deep dives into the hidden histories behind the things we take for granted. We have got a lot more coming.